Did you guys see JD Vance trying to order donuts?
Okay, yeah. She doesn't want to be on film, guys, so just cut her out of anything. Appreciate that, man. I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president. Good to see you.
Okay. When she hits him with the okay, that line, it stung me a little bit. And then when he orders donuts as like, I don't know, just whatever works. Like, how do you make ordering donuts awkward?
How long are you working?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Oh yeah, and his favorite question when he doesn't know how to make small talk is to ask them how long they've been working here. It just, he keeps repeating it to everybody.
It's everything, yeah. I mean, a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some of these cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense. Always split them
Just
up.
whatever makes sense. Just order donuts, just pick the donuts you want.
How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good.
He asked 4 separate people how long they worked here, then nodded and said, okay, good to all of them. That is horrendous small talk. However, it's not that big a deal. I mean, whatever. It just, it doesn't do him any favors. Watch the Walz one. Okay, I've also seen the Walz one, but you guys are gonna not like me for my answer here. I also don't love the Walz one. It's obviously better in every way, but I don't like when politicians do this in general.
There's no. Nice to meet you all.
Anyway, he's clearly just more of a human being, like clearly just personable, able to shake someone's hand. Obviously better. One big L I'm seeing here is he didn't ask any of them, let alone all of them, how long they've been working here. He didn't even like go down the line one by one and check how long they've been working here and then say, okay, good. Like he was confirming it. That's a huge fumble. It's like, I think he's doing everything right. It's just the mere fact that there's a camera here and he's aware of it makes it disingenuous to me. I don't blame him for it because you're a politician. You have to do that, but this is not for me. All right, Tim Walz's speech, folks. What a crazy intro.
Governor Tim Walz.
I can't do the music. I can't do the music. I like this guy. It's just tough for me. It's not easy for me to get on board with that. But I'm benefit of the doubt, okay?
Now, I grew up in Butte, Nebraska, a town of 400 people.
You know, I want a candidate who gets out there and says, I grew up in a wealthy suburb of Los Angeles. I'm what you might call a coastal elite.
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
I did see some commentary on this. This got a great response, as did earlier speeches about taxing billionaires, but then they were followed by speeches with a lot of Yale graduates and a lot of or at least a billionaire. It's not a unified message necessarily, but I agree with him in this case.
So there I was, a 40-something high school teacher with little kids, zero political experience, and no money, running in a deep red district.
Still got no money.
But you know what? Never underestimate a public school teacher.
I support him. There are some public school teachers I could have underestimated in my life. There's some that I know that I could have underestimated and I would have been just fine.
Every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day.
Other states
were banning books from their schools. We were banishing hunger from ours.
Counterpoint though, what if full kids don't grind? Like what if they no longer have that hunger to, you know, really get out there and get after it? What if it makes them lazy? No one's gonna say it because it's not popular, but what about a starve the children platform where we keep the children hungrier to keep them working? This is me with no teleprompter spitballing on stage. Oh, sweating. I'm just ideas. No, I'm not necessarily, I'm not wedded to anything, but.
If these guys get back in the White House, they'll start jacking up the costs on the middle class. They'll repeal the Affordable Care Act. They'll gut Social Security and Medicare, and they will ban abortion across this country with or without Congress.
All right, so trying to live fact check any of that. The abortion one's a dead ringer. Clearly, abortion is less safe as a right under Trump presidency. Social Security and Medicare is interesting because both parties forever always say we will not touch it. And Trump has verbatim said, I won't touch a cent of Social Security and Medicare. That one I feel like is such a red line. Until boomers die out so much that they can't vote in a major block, until then, no one can actually touch it. Trump has lied? No, of course he's lied. I just think in just sheer self-interest, it would shock me that someone were able to cut Social Security and then not get destroyed up and down ballot, because boomers vote the most. They care about that more than anything. I don't think you can do it. I just don't think it would happen.
It's not just me saying so. It's Trump's own people. They were with him for 4 years. They're warning us that the next 4 years will be much, much worse.
Wait, I want to pull something up. I wonder if I can find it. The gist of it was, and this is something that like I found to be a really compelling argument, but it's just so, I think, telling or damning that like every person, almost to a man or woman, that Trump hired and worked with doesn't want to do it again outside of family. Every appointee he put into power, they all end up not endorsing him, not wanting to be part of it. That's just a bad sign on a personal level. That someone's impossible to work with. Like, it's just a bad Glassdoor rating.
So I don't know about you. I'm ready to turn the page on these guys. So go ahead. Say it with me. We're not going back.
I will say it like also from like a marketing POV, I like this line of attack better than Biden's. In general, when you're trying to convince someone to not do something, just talking about how bad it is doesn't work unless you also give them something. You have to give them the carrot and the stick. And so I like the idea of painting it as the past and we're building towards something good. I think Biden did a lot of like, it's the end of democracy. We can't let him in. It's so scary. I don't know if that hits as hard as being like, leave it in the past. We got something new. I think it's the better messaging.
If you're hoping to buy a home, Kamala Harris is going to help make it more affordable.
Both parties have talked about this, home buyer tax credits. I'm not a huge fan of that. I hate subsidizing demand, which is what it is, which is just like finding a way to give more money to people to buy things. The only way to make homes actually more affordable consistently is to increase supply, increase competition. Like there has to be more options. I'm not a huge fan of subsidizing demand, and both parties have made this same claim. They're going to give like first-time home buyers tax credit. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's the same thing as like, we want every student to go to college, so we're going to give them all student loans. What that does is just drive up the price of college until you have to get a loan to get it. And it gets more and more expensive because they know they can charge whatever they want because of the subsidized demand. I don't find it to be good economics, but it's popular to say, and both parties bring it up. I'm not a fan of it. I don't find it to be that effective. I think she has spoken about increasing supply as well, but I want to mention that I don't like the demand subsidies.
Let me finish with this, team. Our job for everyone watching is to get in the trenches and do the blocking and tackling.
Not a metaphor for me. When I used to watch my dad or go to football games with my dad, I'd be so bored. And when he asked me what I think about it, I would just say, move them chains.
We got 76 days. That's nothing. There'll be time to sleep when you're dead. We're going to leave it on the field. God bless.
That was a good speech. Someone said this is how Hitler started. He gave speeches too. I'm just saying, the Führer, he also got up there and gave speeches. If you meant that unironically, you're brain rotted. Hitler did not famously start with a football metaphor. I think that was a really good speech. Again, I'm a bit irony poisoned. It's hard not to see the spectacle at all and check out a little bit, but I thought they haven't had something like this anytime recently. This is good. I like when politicians can focus on the broad popular issues that we would like to see us move forward on and not dragged down by constant, very niche labyrinths you can go down. You know, it's nice to have a speech that feels a little bit hopeful. The counterpart speech is like, there are 5,000 Guatemalans lighting fire to Washington, D.C. as we speak. Anyway, that was pretty good. Let's see the Kamala speech. Obama did a dick joke? Can I see a clip? Obama said Trump has a tiny penis. I can't imagine he said that.
There's the childish nicknames. This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Not necessarily a dick joke. It could easily be taken as one. Okay, let's watch the speech. She did wear a tan suit. I did hear about this. Wait, just real quick before we go into the speech. This was bad for the country, folks. A tan suit. This is what torpedoed Obama. It's not presidential.
The path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected.
Dude, can you guys believe there's a tweet from last month of Joe Biden saying, I'm not dropping out. Last month. That's wild.
But my mother never lost her cool. She also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote.
I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I feel like there's a level of decorum we went from our president, and cursing. Do you know what I'm saying? Cursing. It's like, I feel like Trump has had a little class to this thing, and if you're going to come in here and start throwing around words like ass, yikes, dude. Yikes. That's why I'm voting Trump. I'm with her on policy, but I have to vote Trump because I want some decorum.
And I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self.
I think this is more broad, based on what maybe we'll get into it. There's a long speech ahead, but this is more broad than I'm able to give any real commentary on. You know, it's like, this is like a rally, you know, it's like excitement. I'm not even saying it's a bad strategy, whatever. You're trying to win the election. You want people you know, Americans don't care about percentages. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be the speech for me to find anything like that out, but I'll keep watching.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man, but the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
She might go farther than this, but this reminds me of when Jeb Bush had the $500 million billboard campaign that said, in quotes, Donald Trump is unhinged, Jeb Bush. It's just, it doesn't feel like it goes far enough. It feels so tame. Some of the crazy things he's done, but maybe that plays into him when you spend too much time on it. Yeah, I will say probably weird instead of dangerous is working better. On some level, people see dangerous as like interesting or cool. If you say someone's dangerous, you're like, dangerous to who, you know? Established interests. But if you say he's just a weird old man, I think that works better. It's probably better messaging.
He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans.
I'm not trying to downplay this. I think in different times I would be more interested in this part of the speech. What I'm trying to say is, just to give some context, is I'm very serious that I sincerely believe that unemployment is already rising and is going to rise faster, and we're entering into a period that's going to be very difficult for average people. I sincerely believe that we're going to need policies to address that. I think it's gonna be a very difficult time to be president, is what I'm trying to say. I listen to Trump's, and like I don't like the idea of these blanket tariffs, of him having personal control over interest rates, trying to drive things down to zero. I think they're all very inflationary, but it's tough for me to nail down on her side specifics. And I don't think the speech is gonna have them, but even if I can get pointed in the direction. I mean, I did see a policy. I'm not just taking Chad's word for this. I saw a policy today. They proposed increasing the corporate tax rate, 28% tax rate. So that's something, right? Ending foreign tax shelters by taxing offshore corporate income. I'm not saying she is incapable of having some hard positions. I just need to see them. And I like these. Specifically, this last one is interesting. Finding a way to shut down offshore corporate tax shelters would be awesome.
And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies. Now compare that to Donald Trump. Because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. He doesn't actually fight for the middle class. Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt.
Don't promise you're going to cut the deficit. I've heard it too many times. Don't tell me like Trump it's going to be easy. That pisses me off even more when he says he can do it and it'll be easy.
Effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year.
Bro, they got to stop with this messaging. I actually hate it. They keep responding to the Trump tariffs by saying they'll raise your prices by $4,000 a year. But what he says is, I'm going to cut income tax and replace it with tariffs. So what they hear is, well, I spend more than $4,000 on tax a year, so I'm gonna net gain. That's not how it's gonna work, bro. That's not how it's gonna work. It's gonna mean services are getting cut because we're not making enough money in tax revenue because it's not nearly equal. And it's gonna mean the prices of everything goes up. It's just gonna be consistent, constant inflation. I hate that $4,000 line. People, they're not hearing it the way they think they should be hearing it.
Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom.
So this right here is kind of her bag. I'm interested to see how she goes after it. If you look at the 3 issues that are like the biggest this election in terms of Americans like really feeling urged to vote on them, it's number 1, the economy by far. Number 2 is the border, and number 3 is abortion. And on the first 2, I think she's down in the polls to Trump. Though I maybe has made ground recently. But on abortion, it's like that's her big, like the average American, even like a Republican, like the average person just doesn't like the idea of changing Roe v. Wade abortion laws that have been around forever. They don't want it. They don't want the invasiveness.
Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
That was her strongest part so far. Felt the most authentic, passionate crowd response. Really good. People trust it.
And let me be clear. After
biting Obama's whole shit, dude. Whoa, dude. Bar for bar?
But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal.
Fact check. That's all true. I don't know. Honestly, I'll just admit my ignorance here. I don't know what was in the bill. I didn't read it. I didn't read the bill. I don't know. But I do know that this part is true, that they had a bipartisan bill that was endorsed, and then he did call up senators and tell them not to vote for it. I do know that's true.
To our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
I'm all for that. I am an old school, I'm kind of an older man. I'm a bit of an old school anti-immigration person when it comes to the Irish. So as long as we don't let the Irish in on Ellis Island, I'm super chill. But if they bring their potatoes and take all the jobs, I'm gonna lose.
As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
I was aware of this clip going in, and I know that there's like some people who are real on edge about it. I'm not downplaying your feeling. I just, for me personally, that when I saw the clip, I was surprised because it just felt like a very normal American speech. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I grew up on military bases. That just feels like I just felt so bog standard. It's just, I think she's attacked a lot on, the line of attack is that she would never be able to stand up to Putin. She wouldn't be able to stand up to Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping. She's not tough enough. I think that's like I get the military too. I literally think that's what it is. I obviously am open to other interpretations, and I can understand that being a pain point for you, but for me personally, didn't read that way.
I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump.
It's the most passionate she's been. She does not f with Kim Jong-un. That was her most passionate line. Kim Jong-un a little put out, dude.
They know Trump won't hold autocrats accountable because he wants to be an autocrat himself.
I agree with that, to be honest. They would talk to Trump after his meetings. Xi Jinping's the one I'm thinking of, because I've always been very China-pilled. And like every time he came out of a meeting with Xi Jinping, he'd be repeating some talking point that Xi Jinping went in with. He always comes out of a meeting with a new, I don't know if it's manipulation or what, but I just feel like he's very last meeting pilled. HR guide to leave from it. I recommend the AOC speech compared to Obama 2004. Obama's GOAT speech. There's there's some of that in this speech. But it's funny because I think a lot of people feel kind of burned by getting excited for that with Obama and not necessarily seeing the fruits of that. And so it's funny to hear it again, but slightly worse. I don't think it hits. I mean, obviously for me, it doesn't hit the same, but I've become more jaded in general. But I think there's new young people who are excited. And I also think it's nice to have, I'm generally a hater of having such a fiery doomer speech when you're trying to get people on board with an idea to move forward. I think it only goes so far to be like talking about how terrible everything is. And it worked with Bernie though. Bernie almost got boring with how often he mentioned the top 1%. He was very consistent. I would not call Bernie as just empty words. I mean, he never got into power so we could see it, but like he had lines that he said over and over and over again about wealth gap. And that's why I liked Bernie so much. I mean, that's the stuff I care about the most. I like that he would just, like a broken record, say the same shit. I can't tell how to run a campaign because it's been like, I would have bet 3 weeks ago they wouldn't be where they are now. I would have bet hard. Really? Yes, of course. I'm not going to pretend to be a savant on this. When Biden dropped out and they said they were giving it to Kamala, I would have guessed drastically worse performance. Drastically worse. Everyone check, they had this predicted from minute one. Oh, I knew the second Biden coughed, I knew he was done with. What are you talking about? That's such an unlikely outcome. Someone said, can we compare this with Hillary's speech? I wanted to mention this because I was kind of waiting till the end to see if she does it, but one thing I noticed that I want to give Kamala credit for here in this speech is that I think Hillary would often do the whole, this is such a historic moment for me as a woman to be the first woman candidate, and we're breaking the glass ceiling, and that stuff didn't play well with even women. I think didn't play well. It was a little bit cringe. It felt a little self-serving. It felt a little, man, the Hillary campaign was so presumptuous. It was almost like, I already have your vote. It's already gonna happen. I don't know. It didn't feel like you were fighting for it. I think this speech is not that. Compared to a Hillary speech, I think this is actually night and day better. It's just not, there's not enough substance for me to latch onto. It's very, I'm very irony poisoned on any ooh rah rah type stuff in general. But it's not bad. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, this could be Biden up here. Can you imagine Biden up here? And then we gotta get NATO, and it's night and day. It's night and day. And I think they're trying to ride that energy. And at the very least, they brought it within a coin flip in a race that was like a guaranteed loss. That's a speech? What's the rest of this? This is the outro? Bro, there's like a 45-minute. All right. Good. Then it ended when I thought. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's certainly not a Obama 2004. I don't think that's a memorable speech going down in history. I think that was like a serviceable, down the middle, keep the energy up speech. I can see like the more progressive sides getting turned off by the lethal military comment, and I can see the general populace definitely still questioning if this is the only thing they solve for. I think there's still a lot of questions about economy, which I think is everybody's low-key number one issue. Not even low-key, high-key. I think it's everybody's number one issue in America. I think everyone's cooked, outside of the very rich, cooked on prices, tough times finding jobs, cooked on more expensive interest rates on loans. They just don't get it. They're mad about it.